morning, everyone. Today I'll be presenting on device-independent encryption with certified deletion. I'll begin with a quick introduction to the task we consider. It's a two-party situation where Alice wants to send a message to Bob. So in the usual encryption situation, what she'll do is she'll encrypt the message with a key and then send the ciphertext to Bob. And when Bob receives the key by some other means, he can then decrypt the message that Alice sent. The twist that's introduced here is, let's suppose that at some point before Bob has received the key, Alice decides she no longer trusts Bob and wants him to delete all the information that he's received. In that case, is it possible for Bob to send some kind of certificate that he has deleted his data in such a way that as long as Alice accepts the certificate that Bob sent, she can be sure that even if Bob receives the key at some later point in time, he cannot decrypt the message that was originally sent? This intuitively should be classically impossible because Bob can always keep a copy of all the information that he receives. But a couple of years ago, Broadband and Islam studied this task in the quantum setting, and they were able to find a protocol that indeed achieves this, essentially by forcing Bob to perform conjugate measurements on a quantum ciphertext. Their security proof is for the standard quantum cryptography setting, sometimes called the device-dependent setting, where the honest parties are performing trusted measurements. Our contribution in this work is to bring the protocol to the device-independent setting, where even the measurements performed by the honest parties are almost completely untrusted. The challenge that we face here is that the existing DI-proof techniques do not seem to be enough to cover this situation, and to overcome this, we had to prove a new parallel repetition threshold theorem for a more general family of non-local games, and this threshold theorem might perhaps be of independent interest. Apart from this, we also introduced some steps that achieve security against a third-party eavesdropper, and we also achieve a different security definition known as composable security, which has some strong operational implications. I'll now quickly highlight a few extra details on a few of these points. So our protocol, like many other DI protocols, is based on boxes that can play non-local games. And this means that Alice and Bob have a pair of boxes sharing an entangled state, where Alice and Bob can supply classical inputs to the boxes. They'll measure the states that they hold and return some classical outputs. A famous example of such a game is the Magic Square game, and we make use of this in our protocol. More precisely, we consider a game consisting of two rounds, where in the first round they play the Magic Square game, and then after that, in the second round, Bob tries to guess the output that Alice got in the first round. If the boxes are implementing the honest states and measurements, then they are able to win the first round perfectly, more or less. But in doing so, Bob's measurement actually is forced to erase the information that he had about Alice's output. So in the second round, he no longer has any ability to guess Alice's output better than chance. The interesting thing about this setup is that previously in a paper by Fu and Miller, they showed that even if the boxes are implementing dishonest states or measurements, as long as they win the first round with high probability, this still forces Bob to delete his information about Alice's output more or less, so that in the second round, he can't really guess Alice's output particularly well. And by using this property, Fu and Miller were able to achieve certified deletion of a single bit. Our protocol aims to achieve certified deletion of a longer string, and to do so, what we do is that if we think of this two-round game as a game in itself, we see that this property means that the winning probability of such a game must be strictly less than 1. And we consider many copies of such boxes played in parallel and derive a threshold theorem that applies to this situation. So by proving this threshold theorem, we are then able to apply a security proof technique that was previously used for DIQKD, which essentially converts threshold theorems into security proofs. The other technical contribution that I highlight is our composable security definition. The main point is that it means the protocol we develop here can be safely used in place of some cleaner idealized functionality. So this is a very operational statement, and that's why it's convenient to have. Although we won't be able to go into the details of how composable security is defined or proven here. To sum up, I'll highlight a few points that we observed in the process of this work. First of all, it seems important to prove security against parallel inputs because, for example, if Bob is dishonest, he's not restricted to supply his inputs sequentially to the boxes. And this is why some previous proof approaches for the DI setting don't seem to work here. We also observe from the composable security proof that it doesn't seem possible to force Alice to commit to the message that she originally encrypted. So it's not like bit commitment. And looking forward, we think that some points to investigate could be whether the threshold theorem could have other independent applications, or whether the protocol we develop here can be combined with other protocols as well. I thank you for your time, and you can look at our paper for further details.